Heather. Oh, don't be shy. You.
Oh,
Montana. Awesome. Montana. Christian's all painter. Hi, Vadata. Dark artist. Oh, it's Melanie winning. I was just like, I love it. You're a winning painter. I was like, this is great. Dun, dun, dun. Oh, hey, Shabana, how are you? Scotland, doing Chelsea Untitled in September. Roisin. Nice.
Hi,
So,
Roberto.
a goal, get a gallo from Germany. Nice. And my bear. Get my
We still have a few artists coming through. As I mentioned, this session is recorded and we will start the recording in a bit. This is just a bit of a hellos and getting to know each other. But as we're waiting for others to join, let me just quickly give you a heads up that on Friday we have a mentor hour. So we know how usually in the sessions you always just want to ask questions of the experts. Well, imagine a session where it's all just about that, about our mentorship program directly from Lise, who's here today, and Karen. It's from 1 p.m. UK time and online on Zoom, free session. Please do join. A really nice way to wrap up the week and have an expert to answer all of your career questions. Then there's a couple of VA opportunities I just wanted to mention, which is Open Spaces 2025, which is a global art trail in everyday spaces. In my follow-up email, I have all the further information and links to it, so you can find it out there. Please do join. And another one that I just wanted to quickly mention is Art 500, open call for artists, and the deadline for that is 17th of September. While for Open Spaces, it's the end of this month, just to let you know. So this is where I'm going to start the recording. Very important.
Oh, just are we doing a couple
recording in progress?
Regards to Open Spaces, we're doing a couple of sessions on that, aren't we?
Yes, exactly. That's a very good point, Karen. So there are 2 dedicated sessions for Open Spaces. It's about how to install your artwork. And the first one that's coming up, and the second one, both of them are being led by Karen. And the second one is about just in general exhibitions and things like that. So if you sign up for the Open Spaces Art Trail, which is free for the members, you also are very welcome to join these complimentary sessions.
Basically, come and join the largest grassroots global art trail in the world. Come and join it. Get loads of examples of really unusual ways to and unusual places to put your artwork to do it.
Okay, so today's agenda, we're going to go quickly through a bit of introduction to getting gallery ready. Then we have a Q&A with Maeve. Then we're going to just look through the course curriculum, and we're going to wrap up with an open forum. So without further ado, I'm just going to pass it on to the lovely Karen.
Hi, everybody. So we'll be going on to talk to the wonderful Maeve in a moment. But to start with, we're just going to go through a few points for you. So what does gallery ready actually mean? Because you've all heard of the word, oh, you need to be gallery ready. But if you don't know what it is, it's not very easy to get there. So you're considered, I don't know why my suddenly asked if I want to convert my language to Ukrainian. Although I can speak to 3 in Ukrainian. You are considered gallery ready when you have an understanding of how the commercial art world operates. Now, when we say commercial, I know some people start to go, oh, it's not a negative word. It's called the art market because it is about money and it always has been. And this is, you know, the money that you put into your art. Commercial art is like, how do we get your artwork out there to collectors? So when you have an understanding of how this commercial art world operates, a professionally curated portfolio. Now, this is professionally as in the standard of it. It doesn't mean you've got to go out and pay someone money in order to do it. You can do this for yourself, but it needs to be a good curated portfolio of your work. How to articulate your artistic identity and your value, to say, what do you do? Who is it? Why are you great? and be able to say this in a really nice, concise way. Gallerists, and I'm sure Maeve will agree in 2 seconds, are quite busy people. Are you busy, Maeve?
A little bit, but I like being busy.
Yeah.
I like
Well,
being busy.
To have a portfolio that's, rather than giving us pages and pages and pages about describing absolutely everything you do, how do I get this down to a really good introduction of who I am for that first step? Do you know what galleries align with your work? This is very key, because many artists, will talk about some of the common mistakes in a moment, will often approach galleries that are just not going to be suitable for their particular work, and then take all of the feeling of rejection if they don't accept them or if they cannot work with them. Gallery ready also means that you're confident in approaching, pitching, and negotiating with galleries. Okay, so that's kind of what gallery ready means. You can tick all those boxes. So next slide, Carolina. So I want you guys all to write down in the chat box, what is one area that you are feeling least prepared when it comes to gallery representation? So what's area you feel least prepared to? Cara, if you go back one on the side so people can just look and check off. So what's one area, everybody, that you're feeling unprepared with most about getting gallery ready? So portfolio, the rate of output required, working on theme, how much to charge, how to approach them, talking to people, portfolio. Oh, so that's quite a mix of different sections, knowing the right level of gallery. Okay. All right. Well, it's really important to know what is the bit that at the moment you're worried about, but also what to know what gallery ready means. So keep writing down as we go along in there. Let's move on. Now, these are some of the common missteps that will hold artists back. Okay, so it's presenting that unfocused and inconsistent body of work.
Ooh, yeah, that's a problem, definitely.
Have you got an example of one that you've seen?
Yeah, but I wouldn't say I wouldn't name the artist, but it was a painter who was had a great kind of graphic painterly pop art style that was really contemporary, but was showing it alongside abstract work, which was about personal trauma. And it was startling to everyone because she should have, well, she would have to make a decision which way she was going to go and probably shouldn't present them together. Clearly, she was working on art therapy for herself, but when she approached a gallery or did a studio visit, that work should have been put somewhere else, because what the walk away and the takeaway was, if we do take this person on, what are we going to do?
Yeah, and also reading the gallery, because the first type of work is very much Malet's gallery.
That's right. I think, this is something I want to say quite sympathetically. I think sometimes artists work in isolation, and if you don't have a great artist community around you, you may be looking for approval or comments or feedback. And I think what she likely wanted from showing us those works were us to say, this is great, love it. But that's not always going to happen. So I understand what her motivation was. The better thing to do would try to have a community of artists around you and talk to them about it before you go to the business end of things with it.
Which is exactly what this is, by the way, guys. Yeah. This is great. The reason we want to do that is before you go to that point to go, okay, it's great to have all different types of work for yourself, but you don't need to show everything. When you're going somewhere, you can hold some things back. Sometimes this particular type of your work is going to be the one that is going to work within that gallery situation.
And trust me, if the gallery wants to see other things you're doing, like David Zwirner had a Joe Bradley show up. I'm sure you're familiar with his paintings. They're colorful. They're kind of non-figurative, but there's forms happening in them. He's very much a painter's painter. And he's always worked with drawings, but never shown them before. If the gallery wants access to other parts of your work, they'll ask for it.
Yeah. So that's number one, is going to hold you back, is that unfocused, inconsistent body of work. 2 is submitting to galleries without researching them. I think we're going to say on there that sending those cold emails as well without that clear structure. I still, and I'm not representing artists, and I haven't been since 2020. I still every day on LinkedIn just get a generic, can you represent my work? Here's my portfolio, not even a hello. One, you would have known if you researched me the type of work I probably would have worked with, or you could have an idea. Two, I haven't been doing this for 5 years. But I'm still getting approached, and it's just very generic, and it's difficult with that. I mean, maybe you must get some people that have just, do you get the generic ones?
Yeah, I do, and I feel like a responsibility to get back to people, but what I find is you sometimes can't be. There's a difference between confident and aggressive. I don't mean aggressive, but if someone's trying to be politely say, "Can you maybe not at this moment?" It's better not to keep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, not to keep pushing it up. There is a level of assertiveness and overconfidence that sometimes you can get. And then the opposite, you've got the people that aren't very confident at all, but have got amazing work. But research the galleries first. And this is what we'll teach you on the course, is about the different kind of tiers of galleries, give you suggestions of some that might work for you, getting that experience in, how to write those emails, who the contact is, how to check whether you can submit, etc. Also, please never use poor quality images. Please, I beg you from the bottom of my heart. You've poured your entire heart, soul, emotions, life into something. Take a beautiful picture of it. So
Yeah.
I can see what that looks like. I want to feel that. And it literally breaks my heart sometimes when I can see that there's something there, but I just can't see it. So please make sure that you've got good quality images. And that your CV, I mean, these days there's no real excuse, because you do have Grammarly. You've got AI to go through and grammar check your work for you and to put it into a nice order. So just make sure your bio is like professional, it's introductory, you don't need to give a full lecture about your full life. So it's just about good quality. It's about being professional. Because even these days, an artist-led exhibition, I mean, maybe you remember, let's think back to the 80s, 90s, noughties. Artist-led exhibition usually meant flowing skirts and warm white wine, plastic glass. Now an artist-led exhibition is professional. You would expect a level of professional. If I go to Lush to buy a bath bomb for £5 and they ask me my name and wrap it properly, that's for a £5 product. We expect a level of professional customer service with everything. So everything is to be professional. Finally, not understanding the commission structures, contracts and expectations. That's something that we can really help you with. So that can just be, what are those expectations going to be for that gallery? How much money is it? When you're going to get paid? What about VAT? What about framing, etc. Bits and pieces like that. It's really important just to know what it is, so you know what you're getting into. Okay.
That's incredibly important. And also research the history, talk to other artists at the gallery if you can.
Yeah.
And it's much easier to do that now because you can direct message someone on Instagram. You work with this gallery. What is your experience with them?
Yes, and some artists really do get back to you. I'm
Yeah,
having
they
a conversation on behalf. I have conversations on behalf of some of my mentees, with other artists from other galleries, just to kind of set the ball rolling, just to find out, because I've got one gallery and it turns out 4 of my mentees are at that gallery. So I'm just checking with them all. Okay, next slide, please. Okay, so what do our galleries look for? So QCA rule: quality, consistency, activity. So this is coming from Shirley Ann, and I believe this is coming from her new book that is going to be coming. Quality, strong visual impact, originality, just so you stand out amongst the other artists. Professional presentation. The consistency is a cohesive body of work. That doesn't mean you've got to do the same thing over and over, rinse, repeat for the rest of your life. But a body of work or a style, you need a consistent body of that. Galleries are going to be putting an awful lot of work into you if they're doing this. This isn't a case that we just, I mean, I know there are some, but a good gallery doesn't just put artwork on a wall. we will be actively talking to collectors and businesses and people about your artwork. So a cohesive body, so we know what is to expect when we're talking about you for another piece of work for at least a certain period of time, is going to be beneficial. A recognizable voice. So I know you just know that artist. Sometimes if you just walk in and you just know who that artist is immediately, even if the work is different, you know.
For instance, Kusama, Jonas Wood. I mean, you can Murakami. They all have a unique voice, a visual voice.
Yeah.
They
And
don't
you
even need to sign their work half the time.
Yeah, so that is yeah, that's quite a good one, isn't it? Really good. Saying that though, as a contemporary artist, Celia Wilkinson, who's a member of the VAA, I walked into an art fair and just straight away went, Celia Wilkinson. Just knew it from the other end of the room, walked over and said, is that a Celia Wilkinson? And the gallery were like, yeah, because it's just really quite recognizable. So I noted it. So activity, having an exhibition history. So get out there, do some exhibitions. You can put them on yourself. They can be small. It's getting that kind of experience underneath your belt. Engaging with art community. So it's your social media, events, collabs. Be in the discussion. It's also really good for you to get out your studio, start talking to other artists, see what's going on in the art world. Ongoing artistic development. Are you doing any residencies, workshops, etc.? Are you actively engaged in everything? Because they want artists who are serious, definitely want reliable. We love reliable artists, and continuously evolving. Okay, so question: if a gallery director looked at your portfolio today, what do you think they'd notice first? So write it down. If a gallery director, Maeve Doyle, looked at your work right now, what do you think they'd notice first? Okay. So next, a screen. So this is Maeve. I love Maeve. Maeve is an internationally renowned art critic, broadcaster, and very importantly, the global artistic director of the Maddox Gallery Group. She studied at the Emily Carr University of Art and Design in Vancouver, Canada, and previously founded the London gallery Doyle de Vere and was director of Mayfair's infamous Bank Robber Gallery. Do you know Bank Robber Gallery? I think you were one of the ones for the early sale of Banksy's Slave Labour, wasn't it? And Girl with the
Slave Labor, Girl with Balloon, Wet Dog. Yeah.
Currently with Maddox Gallery, which is a globally celebrated contemporary art gallery. They're based in Mayfair, but you'll see them over art fairs and you'll see their name everywhere. Please sign up to a newsletter. I have. You provide your team with kind of unique insights and a wealth of industry knowledge, which Maeve has just told us that one of her staff members put her name through ChatGPT and discovered exactly how much experience she has got. She has also been a BBC Arts correspondent, as well as a host of her own podcast, A Private View with Maeve Doyle on Soho's Radio Cultural Channel, and has participated in other art broadcasting, such as Goldie the Art That Made Me on Sky Arts. But there's some more bits and pieces. I'm sure there were.
Yeah, I mean, recently a hobby of mine became a business in a way. People will find, for collectors even, you think it's nerve-wracking for an artist to walk into a gallery and ask to be represented. Sometimes it's nerve-wracking for a collector to walk into a gallery. And what has started to happen since about 2013 is people will phone me up and say, we have people in town who want to look at art. Can they go with you? Because I have relationships with the other galleries and we can set it up in advance. So that's become something that's highly in demand, particularly now with American visitors, but also European visitors, and also groups. Like during Wimbledon, groups had come over to watch tennis, and they would ask me to show them galleries. So that's another thing that's taken up a lot of energy, and I've enjoyed doing. So taking care of potential collectors, which is very important for galleries.
I know one of my artists is in Greece, and they do, and the lady there who takes tours around places in Greece and has asked if she can add her studio onto that. So this is definitely a thing. And that's why if we know who you are and your gallery ready, and we know we've got a portfolio, we've seen it, it's crisp, it's clear, it's concise, we know what you do, we know what it is. If we are walking around showing people around, we've got you in mind. She's also done the tours, so Brands Hotel, Ham Yard Hotel, Lanesborough, Four Seasons, Soho House, Wimbledon Art Fair, London Art Fair, other art fair, art on the postcard, lots and lots of things. So
Right.
very experienced. So we're just going to ask you a few questions. So you've worked in both the independent galleries
Mhm.
and major international spaces.
Yeah.
How do you think the definition of success for an artist shifts across those different levels in the art world?
The first thing that came to mind when I read this question, and we can go back and go into the question, was, Vincent van Gogh died without knowing his work was as successful as it was. So, on a really kind of deep note, and just in terms of your own personal
Mm,
self-worth and value, at some point you have to define what success is to you
Yeah.
and what it means to you, because let's just be quite frank about the art world as how it was prior to the last 10 years.
mm,
There was a lack of diversity in it. There was a lack of women being represented in it. I mean,
mm.
so even if your work was great, let's say Hilma af Klimt, nobody was going to show it, or Yayoi Kusama, who was a darling of all the other artists. Warhol was inspired by her. Klaus Oldenburg was inspired by her. She did performance art in New York, was so visionary and couldn't get a show because she was othered twice by the art world, once for being a woman, and second for being Japanese in a post-war New York,
Yeah.
where the sentiments were sort of the way they were. So it sounds philosophical, but I do think that you have to have an idea of your art being vocational, and it has to have meaning for you first and foremost. Now, to answer your question, Karen, I'd say independent galleries have to pay rents and rates and staff, and to turn the lights on, and to have cleaners come in, and for whatever damages are in their building. And at most independent galleries are privately funded, and they need to be able to make money. And
Yeah.
that's unfortunate for some people to hear, but it's a matter of fact. I think if you're on this call, you know enough about the art world to know it's going through a major reset, and any of the galleries who weren't commercial enough,
Yeah.
and that may mean a great reputation, like they went to the Venice Biennale, their artist won, they went to all the fairs, but one or two sales maybe didn't work out, have had to close down. And it's just a sign of the times. And it happened once before in 2008 after the Lehman Brothers. So in this time of reset or realigning the art world, the independent galleries are really focused on bringing in money.
Yeah.
And they have to be. Okay, but now you go to the major institutions. In the last 6 years,
Mm.
I think, the Sackler money, which was the Sackler family, gave bursaries. It was called art washing of the opioid market
Yeah.
to a lot of museums and galleries, and it's been taken away. And it's made even major institutions like the V&A or the Portrait Gallery have to be more commercial too. So the V&A has done it very well, where last year they had the Taylor Swift
Yeah.
trail through the museum, bringing in people who'd never been there before. Now, a board of directors with an endless bank account will never try and do something that marketing oriented. But with the need to bring in new business and finance, you have to try new things. So it's funny how the museums and the independent galleries are having to both think commercially a lot more. It may not be something you find that you like thinking about, but they'll have to think about it just to keep the doors open, their staff employed. I think you've probably all heard that staff have been laid off in a lot of these museums. So It's I'll just say that in times of adversity, there's usually really interesting opportunity if you can keep your expenses down. And that's what both museums and independent galleries are doing right now.
Mm. But interesting, like doing the Taylor Swift, because what people are forgetting in a way with a lot of galleries is previously a lot of the galleries were aimed at 55-year-old middle-class white men who would come in, and there'd be a beautiful person behind the desk there speaking multiple languages who would tell you what to buy and what not to buy.
And they were the child of a collector.
And they were the child of a collector, obviously.
Yeah.
And that's how it worked. But actually, you know, that market's going to change. People need to downsize. People don't exist anymore. The need, if you want to get those 18 to 36-year-old people, they're the ones you want. These are the people who are going to be the actively richer people. These are the people that want to know about art. They want to know about artists. They are actively interested in either collecting or supporting you. So these museums doing a Taylor Swift thing is great for that. And they do need money to keep these buildings going because so many of them were built in the 18th century. And believe me, I've worked at many 18th century estates. They are not cheap to run and they are falling apart. But also what they're doing is they're bringing those younger collectors and normalizing being around art, normalizing asking questions, normalizing actual physical kinesthetic activity through art. These are the people that you really want. Now, loads of big galleries have been closing down, as Maeve just said. I mean, Betty Cunningham's been going for 37 years, and now she's just moving over or doing things online. Marlborough Gallery, all the big galleries have having to adapt. So I think there are lots that are going to be going, and there's going to be lots of pop-ups, and there's going to be lots of sharing, like for Hauser and Wirth and Nicola Vassal to actually team together and share something, for me, feels like it must have a ripple down effect in the future. But
what was that, Karen? Did you just ask me a question? A ripple down effect about a ripple
no,
down?
would it have a ripple down? So, you know, like Hauser and Wirth teamed up with Nicola Vassal for Uman's show to get an absolute behemoth of a giant gallery and an independent. For them to get together to work on something feels like it could have a ripple down effect where galleries will have some level of support with others.
Yeah, they should. It's a community. It's an art world as well as an art market, and it's better if you're working together. I feel so. Just bringing more people to the market is better for the artist as well.
Most definitely.
Yeah, absolutely.
So you've got the independence we just mentioned, and it's true. It's not cheap to run a gallery. Most of the galleries I've worked at, our rent was £40,000 a month. So we had to like turn over 100 grand a month just to break even.
Right. And then the alternative to that is to work for a gallery that is only by appointment. And so they're on a second floor somewhere and they don't open up to the general public.
Yeah.
Because why would they? They can't afford it. They only open up for their collectors. And then your work doesn't get the exposure you might want it to have.
So that's just having a look. And then major international spaces is another level. Art fair. How many art fairs do you do with Maddox, Maeve?
Well, it changes. You know, this year hasn't been like a lot of the art fairs took a pause for this year. So, but normally, and that is something that's different. You want to go to you want to be part of an art fair if you're joining a gallery. Although I think again, there's something different going on with art fairs too. We would do Miami, Hong Kong, Seoul, Korea. Not Switzerland, but we had a gallery space there anyway. And then looking into Qatar, Dubai, which I understand from people who've done Qatar and Dubai that that's where the new market is. The comment back from the art fairs, basically you see the same people at all the art fairs. It's true. The difference is, and Karen, I think you'll find this interesting, the Middle East art fairs have very different collectors, people seen before. So they're finding a new market, and that's the job of the gallery, is to find a new market.
Yeah. I've got quite a few collectors over there. So, okay. So just going to jump to another question, because I think this is really important, because I do think it is the age of the storyteller. And I think that's essentially what social media is. But in your view, what role does storytelling play, not just in the artwork itself, but how the artist presents their identity? So I know Roberto is going to say this is branding, but it's not in that kind of cheesy, kind of just glowing makeup branding, but the actual story and the narrative for these new collectors. Are you finding that's more important?
I I think since the time of Andy Warhol, it's been important.
Yeah.
I mean, you absolutely look at, there's no separation between his life and his art and his friends and the way he lives and how he presented himself. It was everything about who he was. The story he was telling was the art is in the everyday.
Yeah. I
And
think
it
right.
was in the everyday. And he couldn't, how it would be hard to let up on that story.
Yeah, and I think with social, I mean, we've got a Desh Atelier here today. Give us a wave if they just legged it. So I mean, they've got they've got a really good storytelling whole thing with the Instagram, but your whole story and everything really is about storytelling. If you don't know who a Desh Atelier, they were waving there. Go and find them on Instagram. But that's a good example of kind of like that whole storytelling, that you're living exactly what you're saying and you're showing what it is, and the art is all kind of part of that. So
Someone just made a comment that's a bit, I don't quite understand it.
okay.
As Naomi says, it sounds like they're earning their money from the artists rather than having the incentive to make sales. But that's what the gallery does with the artists. They sell their work. So how would we be? I don't understand the question.
The only ones that are doing that are the pay to play ones, which is, which I'm not a massive fan of, but they do have a new role in that. So that's making money off artists, which is
I didn't
do
I
that.
wasn't aware of that. What do they do? They take money from artists?
Essentially, yeah. So you've got like in fact, quite a few people do this at art fairs now. They set up as a gallery and then they say, hey, I'm going to take 3 artists, but it's £2,500 each. And then they'll take the artists there.
Naomi, thank you for explaining. Karen's explaining too. Thank you.
Uh,
Yes, you're right. Andy was private and he did live with his mother, but I think that's exactly what I was trying to say. When he was out, he was always in character. You're right. He did have a different private religious life. I had the pleasure of going to the foundation with his nephew who worked with them a few years ago after interviewing them on a private view. And yeah, he was a complicated character, Naomi. It's true.
Don't know what. Sorry, my laptop's suddenly panicking on me. Okay. Why is it not charging? Oh my god, this is gonna be horrible. Okay. Okay. Has there ever been an artist that you've taken a risk on, despite them not being ready on paper? Was it one of those instinctual things that you did and went, do you know, I'm gonna take a risk on them?
Well, Karen, honestly, Banksy was a
Yeah.
artist. I mean, when I thought about that, I'm like, it started off by throwing the dye-faced tenors into the street and painting anonymously and not realizing that this was going to work. And that also, how would you ever think that selling prints from a street artist would be popular? I mean, a street artist should be on the street. So I think the story kind of goes, and this is along with storytelling, is they were activists and they released dye-faced tenors in the streets in Notting Hill at one point.
Yeah.
Early 2000s, only to find out that entrepreneurial computer people were going to their bedsits and uploading them on eBay and selling them. This is way before pictures on walls with Steve Lazarides and Ben Eine and Banksy himself opened up on Curtin Road. So that was a risk, and it was certainly a risk that paid off. And I think if you don't take risks on artists, that's the job of the artist, is to push you into something you don't understand. I mean, if we're on the Andy Warhol thing, and I'll just revisit it a bit, he couldn't get a show in New York.
Yeah.
Jasper Johns was showing, and Robert Rauschenberg was showing, and they were, all showing with Leo Castelli, and Leo wasn't confident he could represent Andy Warhol. So Irving Blum took him to California and put his soup cans in fun galleries. So that was a risk Irving Blum took. The next risk was selling them. He sold 2, I think, to Dennis Hopper, and then realized they should be kept as a set, called up Dennis Hopper, who kindly brought them back. So when you're at your best, you're taking risks on artists.
Yeah, definitely. Because I've got obviously I know lots about Banksy and stuff. I'm in Bristol. But I've got friends who just sat there and saw their friend walking past with a sprayed canvas, and they were just like, we're not going to that show. I could do that really easily. So they said, we stayed there for a few pints. My friend came skipping back and went, I've just spent £300. And they were like, what's the point? It's just like literally a street artist put something on canvas. well, £500,000 later, years
There's
later.
so many of those stories, Karen. I mean,
Yeah.
honestly, even when I started, we weren't selling them for that much.
No.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I've sold his prints for years, and unfortunately, I've got a really bad morality level where I want to sell it to people who aren't going to shelve it just for money. I want people that really love it.
Of
Which
course.
basically just talked me out of a secondary market again.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because
No,
the
no,
prices
no.
just went up and up, and I'm thinking, oh, please, will you sell it back to me, and I'll sell it to someone else. They were like, no, I love it, and I'm like, curse my morality. But
No. Because
Yeah.
I'm just going to address what you said quite seriously because you're being really great about it. But there's a lot of collectors that get blacklisted if they won't sell them. I mean, I had a client I took to Gagosian the other day for the Stingel and Rudolf Stingel, and they have to profile them first to make sure that they're a responsible collector. So, as an artist, if you're looking for a gallery, you want to make sure that you have a gallery that's responsible about your career, particularly if you're an emerging artist. I mean, Jordy Kerwick I had a lunch with his dealer last week, and he had a terrible time, and he's a great painter because he's a new artist and his work went into an auction in New York and went up to like 250,000, which an emerging artist should never be.
Yeah.
So there's manipulation in the market sometimes too. I won't go further into that, but you want to make sure that your gallery is taking care of who they sell your work to. So Karen, based on what you just said, I would trust you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
That's
would rather personally because I mean, I'll tell you one thing. I had a pop-up show once, did it for 2 hours only with a street artist. We sold about 60% of the artwork in just 2 hours. Now, one of the artists said to me, oh, shall I invite some friends? And I said, well, do you want a party or an art show? So we just had a few people there. One lady who had taken two buses and a train to get there with a little crochet hat on, come all the way from Ipswich. And luckily, my artist is incredibly shy and she was quiet, and they had a conversation. She's one of the biggest art collectors in
That's right.
the UK. She owns a couple of bungalows that she's put together, and she has millions and millions and millions of pounds worth of art. But she loves art. And she got the only line drawing from the street artist that he's ever sold. And it was only 60, 80 quid or something like this. But he wanted her to have it. This is a brilliant art collector. This is someone that you want your work to be in that collection. Because it's somebody who loves art, somebody who's taken all that effort to get somewhere to chase the artwork. And then that your emerging piece of artwork is now in a collection with these original Picassos, with these Dalis, with these Banksys, with all of these different types of artwork. That's the kind of collection you want to be in. When that goes to auction, the estate of so-and-so or this collector, you will always be associated with that collection, which is just phenomenal for your pride, your validation, your career. So having a gallerist that this is why the pay-to-play galleries are difficult, because you're just using a name on a wall. So that's all it is.
Karen, someone's saying the conversation's going off track. What is the person looking for? I'm sorry.
So navigating the changes. So what's one shift you're seeing now that artists might not be aware of in the art market and the galleries at the moment?
Oh, can you ask that again?
So there's lots of changes in the art world. So that's all been changing the whole time. Is there a shift you're seeing now that artists might not be aware of? Or is it just the fact that galleries are more closing?
I think artists are very aware of the shift, and they're doing such an incredible job of representing themselves. I mean, I think of Charlotte Rose or Mia Faithful. Their portfolio is basically an online presence, and they create as well. There was a woman or someone was asking about authenticity. They become the character of their art, and they mix things up. And I really feel that that's like Jerry Gagosian and all these people who are creating. I know there's someone who's objecting to the word brand, and you're allowed to object to it, but artists are turning themselves into a brand because other brands have money to partner with them and they want a strong identity. Even Team Lab is like that. Murakami's like that. So I think if I'm answering the question correctly, these fully embracing your personality, the way you live, how you are online, as a fully thought out, I'm wearing my artist clothes right now, is coming back.
Yeah.
Was that okay? Was that answer
Oh,
okay?
I know someone's saying we're going off track. So to start with, we can talk to you about you getting gallery ready, but you need to know about the art market. You need to understand how the art market's working. Now, some of you here are going to go, I don't want to do that. I don't want to be commercial. I just want to be all about me, all about my art. And that's what it's going to be. Not a problem. But then you've just got to think, where is that outlet going? How am I getting that funding for that? Am I self-funding? Do I want to find a small gallery? Do I want to be in a collective? Do I want to work hard online? Do I want to find a specific gallery that's close to me? What is it that you want to do with your artwork? Why do you want to be with a gallery? There are some
Correct.
phenomenal galleries out here. And believe me, as a gallerist, you work incredibly hard to represent each one of you.
Yeah.
That's why we want to know, what is it that you do? When I've got a client coming in, you're not standing there. I've got to know this.
Yeah.
I've got to be able to talk like a vessel that is leaking you. I always say that gallerists, we're translators. So collectors and artists speak different languages, don't they?
Yeah.
Artists
Absolutely.
will talk about this. Collectors will panic and talk about this. We just translate in between because it can be difficult for a
Bridge the
collector
gap.
and an artist to communicate.
Yeah.
Do you
That's
find
right.
that, Maeve?
Yeah, well, I mean, I think the other thing is the galleries invest a lot of money into the artists when they take them on. And I think you work with the artists so they can communicate. I know yes, I work with staff members and salespeople, but I also work with the artists and make sure that they can talk to people when they come in. And if it's, there might be someone who relates to someone else, like Fee Lovett, who works here, would work with Ross Muir because they know each other personally. And you make sure you help them with it. You help them with everything.
Yeah.
Some people don't like posing in front of the camera.
Yeah.
Everything about it.
Okay, someone's mentioning here about being autistic. So I'm neurodiverse as well. Not a problem. We can give you loads of advice on that. It's doing that storytelling and being online is actually really good if you are autistic. I also work with people who survivors of domestic violence or certain things that they can't be seen. So we work around the way that you can communicate without having to be the person standing there. So galleries can be great for that because you're not the person directly having to stand in front of your artwork, but creating that package around it, which are simple steps, which is what this Getting Gallery, the actual course, this is. Let's have a bit of an intro. Let's talk about the art market. Let's see what it is. It's about having steps of what you can do to get that ready to then approach that gallery, who can do that talking on your behalf, who can go to those overwhelming art fairs, who can put those shows on for you, who can communicate with the really, socially awkward parts of it, because it's not always easy having to go for dinners or to talk to people or to try and juggle who's who. Is it, mate?
At least one thing I will say is you'll meet a lot of people in the art world who do have diversity issues, and it generally is a world that's more tolerant.
Oh yeah, it's a brilliant time at the moment. So wrap up. Okay, so can you give us 3 practical tips for artists who are here today, who are looking to strengthen their goal of aiming for galleries? So what would be your 3 top tips to go away with?
Really know what you want from a gallery, know why you're approaching them, what you want, what it is you think that you can get from a gallery that you can't do on your own. Now, 50 years ago, or how many ever you want to go back, 30 years ago, but anyway, before Instagram, you had to have a gallery. You had to have a gallery. We have a whole virtual world now. You can set up a shop on your own Instagram and sell your own work. If you go into a relationship with the gallery, make sure it's a relationship that you like, that you want. Make sure that the gallery likes and wants you. Otherwise, do group shows with other artists, do residencies, anything you can to avoid signing to a gallery. Because if you sign to a gallery and you're not happy with them, it's going to be upsetting for both parties. So that's one thing. Know what you're looking for. The
Yeah.
other thing is, and this may be different because I just got tickets for the Gerhard Richter show in Paris. And
Oh,
that's an artist who can change his style all the time. But
Yeah.
that's not really something every artist can do. Gerhard Richter's also in his 80s. He is a conceptual artist as well as a painter. He deals with lots of different things, and he can change his style. But in general, as Karen cited early, I should be able to look at your work and know it's you. So have a strong individual style. Even Helen, and very painterly painters like Helen Frankenthaler, I can still recognize her work. So it's not all graphic design. You see someone's voice, and I'll say this because it's true. It may take you years to find your voice. It may take you years of experimenting with different styles to find a voice that's uniquely yours. If you look back and study art history, you'll see someone like Lee Krasner was doing realism before she started doing expressionism, abstract expressionism.
Yeah.
Eventually, it was her unique voice that got her a place in art history.
Yeah, well, Mondrian, by the way, his favorite thing to paint is flowers. So Mondrian's actually a flower painter. I've sold and gone through a load of his collection, including his chrysanthemum ones. But do we know Mondrian for flower painting? No. You know Mondrian for his big, bold colors. Cézanne, his entire remit of life was to make an orange look like it was alive. There's a very good Kandinsky essay you can read where he's almost rolling his eyes going, "Oh, Cézanne, will you stop painting the oranges?" But, so some of these artists, they've got this, but it was one thing that was the thing that So you would
That's
never
right.
think of Mondrian as that. So he's still doing what he loves to do, what he wants to do. And he would gift other artists his flower paintings because this is what he thought was more important. But you would go to a museum for a Mondrian exhibition. If you saw a bunch of flowers, you'd be like, "Hey, what? Mondrian?" So, Hilma af Klint that you mentioned earlier, a spiritual, one of the early movements of the Theosophist movement with Kandinsky, with Mondrian, and the Tate is still not brave enough to say the word spiritual without little brackets. Her work, there were other pieces of her work that she put forward. This stuff was considered not good enough, spiritual, a bit weird. But she was actually really close to all of these famous artists that all of their names.
Yeah. In fact, they're thinking of rewriting art history specifically because of her and how much she was a part of a movement and her name was left out of it.
Yeah, well, I know other artists around at that point as well. In fact, Maeve got a really good collection of bronzes of an artist that was friends with all of them, but she was left out as she was female. So I like the idea of doing a show and putting them at the center and then putting a consignment call out for all the big names.
Good idea, Karen.
Recentering it. Okay, I found my voice. Okay, so these are just some of the things we were going to ask you today. Is there another practical tip? Last one. So we said there, know why. Why are you looking for a gallery? It's so important. Why are you actually doing it? Are you just saying, I want to be with a gallery because you were told at school, be artist, go to gallery, sell work, make more work? Why is it that you want to be in a gallery? Okay, that's really important, and to think about that relationship. Is there anything else?
All galleries are different. Well, I would say something that I just think is really important. When you're pushing out ideas and getting close to the edge, and great artists do get close to the edge, and they should get close to the edge, and you just don't know where that edge is always. I would say, please take care of your health. Please exercise, eat properly, be careful of, solvents. Don't live recklessly. Maybe you have to, maybe that's part of what your process is, but if you can, I would have liked Jean-Michel Basquiat to live longer.
Yeah.
It would have been great. It would have been great if Jackson Pollock lived longer. But these artists, Jackson Pollock said, it's not what to paint that problematizes me. It's what to do when I'm not painting. So if at all possible, take care of your health and just know it's your best bank.
And also, just on that point, we were talking about storytelling. It's so easy now to document. how your life is. So documenting what you're doing with your artwork, documenting that process, documenting how it feels like to not paint. A lot of the big institutions like the Wellcome Collection, if you look at their next year 10-year, collections policy and acquisitions remit, it's very much about the living artist with health. It's a really important story, which also within that kind of gallery concept, sometimes that actual documentation of what you're doing and how you're living it. Because I guarantee if you think about any artist that was your top artist in the past, so get one in your head. Do you secretly want to see inside their studio? Do you want to read their journals? Do you want to kind of see what materials they're looking for? I mean, I will pause on a documentary and try and find out what paint they're using in the background.
Well, there's a reason they've installed Francis Bacon's studio in the Douglas Hyde Museum in Dublin.
Yeah.
Taking it piece by piece and put it there. You're so right.
Yeah, I mean, I'm Picasso's Guernica painting. It's a great painting. My favorite picture is the one of him up a wooden ladder with his overalls with the paint dripping off it, because that's what I want to see. That suddenly puts things into scale. It puts somebody there. This is all really quite cool stuff to do. And instead, if you are neurodiverse, even better, because all you've got to do is read into ChatGPT or one of your AI systems and just record it and it will type it for you. Just keep that information for you. Have a little thing to document your life. Because it could also be important in some of our new gallery things, as you said, that are moving on in the future. I mean, I can't remember the name of the curator, but there's a curator who spent, I think, about the last 8 years curating things which were by the artist's instructions to, whether that was a gallery, whether that was to an art fair or something like this, their instructions, and living by their instructions and reconstructing how they wanted their show to look, because a lot of the times the shows didn't end up looking like that. And he's just been putting on shows according to artists' instructions that he's found in their journals or in their kind of maps and things like that.
Okay. Roz Fletcher, I just wanted to say, I'm sorry, I should have been specific. I always think that health and mental health are the same thing. And you're absolutely right. And Kusama put herself in an institution because she felt safe there. So yes, I'm glad you mentioned that. If anyone didn't understand that I meant health being body health and mental health and spiritual health, if that's something you want. Yes.
Also, Naomi just mentioned about that. It's not intrusive. You don't have to be living and showing everyone your life. It's just documenting part of how you're doing things. So that could just be you picking one corner of a room and just taking a photo of that exact thing every single day, which could be, here's 30 days of a blank piece of paper. Here's me at 4 o'clock in the morning, suddenly doing 3 months worth of work in one thing, and it's an explosion thing. It's just about a sense of documentation, either for now or for the future, because, you guys might all end up being the next artists. We might be sitting here going, oh my God, if only I'd asked Stufi a little bit more information about herself.
Another thing you can do, I find that people love, is if you have a studio, invite people to it. Studio visits are incredibly popular. I mean, collectors always want to do a studio visit. Gallerists always want to do a studio visit. So maybe you don't have a gallery, but if you have a studio, put a lot of effort into it and bring people over.
Also, can you let me go? I've been there 3 hours and I'm dying to go. So I've been trapped in a studio before for a long time.
Oh.
And you go to the studio and someone's talking, you're like, I've got to go. It's like 3 hours. I've really got to go.
Actually, there's a story about quite a rogue artist who definitely locked people in.
Oh, it's kind of scary. Don't look in until you. That's how you get a gallery in the old days. You can't leave until you've signed. Okay, so can we? So I know today seems a bit like there's a whole load of really practical information that we can give you. I think what we're trying to say to start with is the art world is changing. It might not be what you were told like when you were younger. Of you're going to paint essentially or create something, it will be picked up by a gallery and magically it'll sell and do this. You got to think, why do you want to be in the gallery and why that one? Okay, now this getting gallery ready, even if you're deciding not to go to a gallery, this information is useful because if you're going to set up on your own, if you're going to do your own shows, you still need to know what gallery ready is because you are now the gallery. If you're part of a collective, you are now that gallery front. So you need to know what that is, because those customers we are talking about, those collectors, those institutions, are all expecting things at that level because they're used to it. So we still need to know the kind of information, what it is, but have a little think to yourself what Maeve was saying. What is it that you're looking for? That's the most important.
That's how it'll work. It's only if you, it's like any relationship, just know what you're looking for from that relationship. But this is a business one, so. It's a business one with softer, like you want it to have softer edges around it because that's what we believe in, but yeah.
Okay, Louise, do you want to kick off with the rest of the bits and pieces?
Yes, I think we're just going to go to the QR code, and Carolina, if you can just explain the 2 sessions, and then.
Yeah, so this short course is comprised of 4 sessions. 2 are live, and the first one of the 4 will be with our guest speaker, Tabish Khan, who is an art critic and writer. He also has a podcast. If you want to look him up, hear about what he has to say and what he's looking into. And then the last 2 sessions are pre-recorded, and they will be shared with you after the second live session is completed. And during the whole of the 4 sessions, you always have a chance, obviously, for live Q&As, but also to get in touch with us, the team, as well as the course lead, Karen, who is here today. So that's a bit of like the day-to-day things. Each session runs between an hour and 20. We never like to just stop the session. As you can see today, we go on and on until we feel like questions are answered and everyone has a clear understanding. And until the Friday, 8th of August, there is a special deal for VA members. The course costs £110, while for non-members it's £250. Now, I hope that answers all the main questions. If you scan this QR code, you'll just go to the course booking page. There's all the different sections there. If you want to pop a question here in the chat, I'm happy to answer it. For the time being, if you're thinking about what to ask about the course, I actually wanted to ask one question for Maeve and Karen that I spotted earlier in the chat that I thought was quite interesting. So someone asked, who are the up-and-coming artists that you're looking into as they're building that kind of storytelling the way you would like to see it? You mentioned Maeve, Mia Faithful, which I found online. Who are some other artists that are coming up now that you're excited about?
Well, Mia Faithful's great, and she's dealing with AI and things like that. I think what Jerry Gagosian was doing, or Hildy was doing with her persona, was interesting. I think that we have Cooper here, who's very interesting. Ollie Epp, incredible. I mean, so many that I've interviewed have just blown me away. And it's hard to
say which ones to follow, because gallery heads going, okay, which ones to follow? Because you've obviously got collectors who've got that investment in a person, investment financially ones, and then you've got art, which you personally would go, oh my God, they're so exciting to watch.
Yeah, and it's also like, it's not an easy business. Can you manage it? Can you manage it? I know, I could see by some of the things people were saying that they might have a hard time in a room with people because there's already an inbuilt, not hostility, but there's a suspicion. You have to be able to trust the people you're working with.
Yeah.
So an artist might be very promising, but if they can't get along with their dealer, there's going to be a problem there. Like, there's just tons of talent, but there's so many nuanced things that determines whether you get that show or not.
Yeah, you mentioned you interview artists. Where would be the best place for the audience members today to find those interviews?
As Karen mentioned earlier, I have a podcast that's run since 2018 called A Private View. So you can find that on Apple iTunes or Spotify. Now, I didn't know that we ran over endlessly. And I know, no one told me that bit, Carolina. I thought we were going 1 to 2.
Yeah, we are. We're leaving right now because you've got to leave because you're a super busy person. Anyone else want to send any questions, please send them over to the VAA. Melanie, I've sent you a message. Are you melaniewinning.com? Because if you are, I love your work. That's a really strong voice. Go and have a look at that. So if you've got any other questions, we've got the QR code there. Have a look about the course. If you've got any other questions which you think we haven't got to together, please send them over to us or to me, or come and look us on Instagram. Maeve, what was the name of your podcast again, please?
Called Maeve Doyle's Private View. So if you go into Apple iTunes or Spotify, Maeve Doyle's Private View, MAEVEDOYLE Private View.
Getting it down.
And you'll see a Andy Warhol face with my glasses on it, or a Banksy face, whichever way you
Amazing.
call it.
I love a good podcast.
Yeah, thank
Yeah.
you.
I
love
know
good-
it's always a Banksy one. In fact, if I turn this off, look at my thing here. That's a Banksy picture on walls number for one I sold.
Yeah, good one. Nice. Yeah, no, I just had a conversation with my producer yesterday. We're thinking of putting it out once a week now. We've run a bit of a summer hiatus, but
Excellent. Okay, well,
everyone. Karen, I love working with you and doing this with you.
okay,
All
brilliant.
energy.
Okay then, take care.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you.
Bye, everyone.